Today on Fish's Call Sheet, we have somebody who literally started building call sheets and worked his way through the departments all the way up to being a director. He's an incredible leader and a longtime friend. I'd like to introduce you to and welcome to the show, Ron Moseley.
Hey, Michael Fishman.
It's been decades, right?
It has been. Like 80, we go to the 80s, do we not?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So take me back to the beginning, because I don't know your very early beginning of your career. I think I met you 89?
Like late 80s, yeah.
Like 89?
Yeah.
Because you've been working on a different world, right?
Correct. I mean, all right, let's go all the way back. I actually started out acting. I had a roommate who was an actor. I would get the drama log. I don't know if you remember the drama log. That was a Thursday drop, an actual magazine that came out. I would tell him about stuff he should go on. The day I didn't get it, he got it and said, "Hey, man, this is something to be perfect for you. Sensitive, black musician type." All right, fine. I go. Bottom line, it's Sid and Nancy.
Yeah.
And so I messed around and got cast in Sid and Nancy. The first thing Gary Oldman ever did. I've got scenes with Gary. You know, I'm like, oh, this acting thing it's easy, man. I can do this in my sleep. I'd say 18 months went by after that. I didn't get a single bite of anything. A friend of mine was working on a different world and said, "Hey, you need a PA job. We need PAs on the show. It's a Cosby spinoff." So I started PAing over there, and then that's, I started going up the steps of success at the Carsey Warner Company.
So talk about that. So PA, for people who know, is like the very base level.
Production assistant, yes.
And then you moved into, I guess in those days, the stage manager department, right?
Correct, yes. Without getting into the whole union of it, there was another young lady, Rainice Holmes, who was ahead of me to get into the Directors Guild, to be sponsored, and the company was good enough to sponsor her. They did the same for me. So I went through the Debbie Allen boot camp of how to be a good everything, because Debbie did everything. So, honey, you've got to do everything too.
Yeah. And she's still that way.
Oh, my goodness.
I love her. She will make you work.
Well, I warned Cedric the Entertainer, because, working on The Neighborhood, his next thing, and he's on Broadway right now, and I think Joe Turner with Taraji P. Henson. And the director is Debbie Allen. And I suggested to Cedric, I said, "Listen, you're going to start rehearsing with Debbie." He said, "Yeah, man, I'm going to the gym." I'm like, "That's good, because you'll need it."
Yeah.
Because Debbie starts every day with calisthenics, and, she takes it seriously. In fact, on A Different World, your buddy Kadeem Hardison used to try to dip out of the calisthenics in the morning. He would call me, like, "Hey, man," I said, "Oh, you late again?" He said, "Yeah, man, they finished that calisthenic bullshit." I'm like, No. They're still, "Honey, tell him we finished." Debbie would say to me, "Yeah, they finished." And he would roll up, and Debbie says, "All right, child, we doing the calisthenics." What do you mean? Man, Ron, you told me, like, keep my name out of it, man,
Kadeem's one of those great guys.
Oh, my God.
He's so much fun. But
much fun.
But yeah, too much fun is the right way.
Yes, Kadeem was in my wedding.
Okay.
And barely, because knowing how prompt he is, I'll put it like that, we had to tell him that the wedding started at like noon. I might have even told him 11:30. When he showed up at 2, apologizing profusely, he looked at me and my wife. He's, "Wait, y'all lied to me. He said, we had to lie to you. And thank you for coming."
Yeah, we love you. That's why we made sure you were going to be here.
Yes. One of the most talented people that I know in terms of acting and shit talking. Those are his specialties, yes. I would say.
In the most wonderful way.
Yes,
yes. He is one of those people to enjoy a set with. Is amazing.
Yes, and that you touched on that, and the Debbie Allen of it all. That show, of the many things that I learned on that show, that I really embrace and try to instill on the sets that I work on, is the mood, is the camaraderie, because you're going to see these people, provided the show is successful, God willing, you have to try to make it a place that you want to come to work, because yes, it's work, but sometimes if you do it right, it doesn't feel like work. And, you know, the show I was just on, I can't tell you where that 8 years went. And again, I'm thankful to all beings that I had a successful show that ran for 8 years. And I'd say part of it, and people would say, this set is a great set to be on, and on the set that you sort of blessed. And there's many plaques outside that stage proving that. I mean, I think it's a necessary thing to do. It's not just a gratuitous thing that you kind of have to try to make it a welcome place.
You have to. It makes all the difference in production. And
Totally.
Cedric, for people who don't know from the neighborhood, Cedric the Entertainer is one of the great people to work with. And I've worked with him from an acting side, but I also was on a crew. When I was working in the electrical and lighting department, I did a show with him called All Rise, which was like kind of like a night court kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I was behind the scenes. I was his spotlight person.
Okay.
Because he had the dark robe on and we had to spotlight him. I was like, go wherever you want. And we started talking about it. He's like, why are you so easy about it? Because I know what it's like to be on that side and be in front of everything. But he was so warm universally, and it makes all the difference on a set.
To that, I mean, look, and people don't realize, Cedric, before he was Cedric the Entertainer, he was Cedric the Insurance Salesman.
Yeah.
You know, he literally, like, I don't know if it was Allstate or one of those spots, he sold insurance, and people would tell him he was funny, and literally he came out and just sort of assessed, you know, the landscape and whatnot, and again, worked his way up, you know, Midwestern dude, and just very blue collar in his approach to things. Also doubled down on the happy set place, because if you got to be there 10, 12, plus hours a day, it's got to be a good place that you want to come to check out. And the neighborhood is the third show I've done with Cedric. And if he called tomorrow and said, hey, Debbie's kicking my ass, I'm going to do another show, I'm going, because I know it's going to be on point and just, a cool environment. So
from coming up through the AD department, right? They know that the name of the show is the call sheet, but for people who don't really know what a call sheet is, because you build those, you really shape things that way.
No disrespect to the show, I hate doing paperwork. I hate other than like keeping score,
right? Which
is one of my passions, our passions, because I know I was not the greatest student. AD, stage managers, the MO on them tends to be, they're anal people. And I think by and large they are. I don't consider myself an anal person at all. If I, put Ron Moseley on a call sheet and I misspell my name, I don't care. I know who I am. Yeah, leave it on the call sheet. When you work as long as I have, you run across, first ADs, UPMs, producers that are like, what is this? There's 57 names misspelled here, and all right. So I guess I got to get my act together and actually do it. But basically, a call sheet, it's like the newspaper for a crew. It's like if you want to know what's going on, you look at the call sheet. A lot of ADs these days also do a shooting schedule that shows you what we're shooting. But if you want to know what's happening and when and who's in, what time, and that's all delineated on a call sheet. Again, also listing the producers and the crew people and all of that. So in a nutshell, that's what a call sheet is.
And talk about running a set. Ron, I think this is a beautiful segue from the standpoint of like, there are people who run things kind of very structured and anally. You are not that person. You are much more personal and kind of, there's a calm, but there's an efficiency involved.
Yeah, thank you. But you have to be who you are. Like I said, a lot of ADs are anal, and they will own that, and they have to sort of own that. And they run the set, sort of regimented. And there is, frankly, shows, casts, whatever, that need that. And it's all about, again, sport analogy, it's all about matchups.
Right.
So if the matchup isn't working, you change it up, you get the rigid sort of person because that's what that show might need. But shows that I kind of do, and that seemingly the people come to me to work, they want that sort of flexible, that sort of happy but and efficient at the same time sort of environment. And I tell my teams this, and my team, recently includes my son. Fortunately, he already knows, how I get down. But I said, look, we're sort of perpetuating the myth of Hollywood, so we're trying to do something and be happy and be jovial about it. But at the same time, I don't want to hear, hey, this production report was messed up. And if I may, the production report is sort of the follow-up to the call sheet. Like the call sheet shows you what it should be. The production report is what it was, what happened. And so that all has to be delineated in the times. We started here, we ended here, we took lunch here. Oh, this might have happened during the day. So-and-so slipped and fell on some jelly that the grip left, and you might not need all that details, but if somebody, is calling Larry Parker and, is suing the company and trying to get their name on the lot, then we have to delineate that for legal reasons. A funny story, which wasn't funny for me at the time, I was doing My Wife and Kids, and we were shooting in Hawaii. For an AD, it was not a pleasant situation because, we're in Hawaii, everybody's like, during downtime, going jet skiing and, swimming and hang gliding.
Your nightmare, right? The absolute nightmare, because especially the people on camera are out playing and trying to make it a vacation, and you got to keep everybody reined in.
No, not trying. They are having a vacation, even when we're shooting. It's like, well, we're in Hawaii. Like, oh, that's the excuse for forgetting your lines. Oh, okay. I'll just go back to this production report and extending it because you can't memorize a line. No, but I digress. But so I'm doing a production report, and we had a very stern production executive who's not with us anymore, but you know who you are up there. It was like if you've ever seen Fast Times at Ridgemont High, when Sean Jessica Coley thought he was going to the prom, and he's putting on his tie with his T-shirt and is knocking on his door, and Mr. Hands is like, Mr. Hands, like, why are you here? It's like, Jeff, you owe me, da 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 da. So he's got to finish his work, lesson learned. I go to my hotel room in Hawaii after, day one. It's like umpteen o'clock, there's a knock on my door, and it's like, oh, must be room service. I open the door, it's this production executive. I'm like, blank, why are you here? I'm like, oh, just thought I'd sit with you while you finish your production report. I'm like, are you serious? Like, really? And this person sat with me while I finished production report. So I'm thinking, man, I better be on my P's and Q's. Well, thank God that happened. Won't happen again. Oh, no.
Every night?
Just about every, in my mind at least.
It feels like every night.
We were only there a week. I would say at least 2-3 nights this person showed up. And so the sad part is like, okay, I'm retelling this story. This is my memory of the trip, was the unwelcomed guest that I had while I had to do the production report. And mind you, this is prior to everybody had a laptop and everything. I'm handwriting this bad boy.
Yeah.
It's you, let me see your whiteout. You didn't spell this correctly.
Listen, people don't understand because we predate all of the modern convenience portion of this. I'm the youngest person who knows how to format a typewriter because we used to have to fill out the forms. And I tell people all the time, this was normal and whiteout was like a thing, and people would be like, there's not a comma there. And I'm like, grammar's not my thing, still isn't my thing. But what do you mean? It's just a comma. They're like, no, we need a new form.
Yeah. Oh, man. If I can get those hours back in my life,
yeah.
That's it feels like half my life. But again, I think in the long run, it made me at least be able to tell my staff now, hey, this has got to be don't show me a production report now, because I will, I'll think back to that exec sitting with me, and so I've become that exec. So you've won. You've won.
Listen, they teach you, and then you become the person who has to teach the other people, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, no, I hate to tell you this, but that part does need to be spelled correctly because it matters, because people are going to go to the wrong location or be here at the wrong time, or the wrong thing's going to show up.
Yes.
And so it's like, oh, no, or there's a big difference between this street and this avenue.
Totally.
You're going to be a different part of town.
Totally. Right. And again, this is prior to Waze and all them. This was like when everyone had the Thomas Guide.
Yeah.
And had to flip through that. And always the page you needed in the Thomas Guide, somebody had ripped out. So
or
you
spilled
had,
on.
Right. So you had to project, okay, let's hope this street continues along this way. And obviously it's a little easier, with all the tech. AD stage managers were perpetuating that sort of myth of like, yeah, everybody's happy in Hollywood when they do a show. And, if we can convey that, that's great, even though that might not be the case, even though, we might have just had an argument with our significant other, or, we might be, in debt up to our nose, but, just there's no business like show business.
Yeah, and it's navigating all of that, right? Mm-hmm. And you guys set the tone for what a set really is. You keep the structure throughout the day. It's a bit like being the substitute teacher and the camp counselor at the same time.
Oh,
and
yes.
people want to go have a good time, and you have to like encourage the good time, but keep them on time.
Yes.
And keep track of everything.
Yes. I mean, because it's fresh in my mind, the cast of The Neighborhood knew that if the writers would write multiple scenes where all the cast was in the scenes, they already knew, certain cast members. I could hear Beth Bears now saying, oh, Ron's not going to like this episode. And I just had my head on the podium like, oh, I've got to rein these cats in from multiple scenes. And sure enough, when we would shoot it, all eyes are then on me to like, Ron, get your cast. Like, come on, this is supposed to be the happy,
Yeah, it's the happy moment. Get everybody in there and get everybody together, and let's move this quicker. And we got to do 2 more scenes after this.
Right. And our last episode, it seemed like, because we didn't shoot with an audience the last few seasons, but it felt like we had an audience on our stage. It was the last episode. Everybody from, Kevin Frazier and Entertainment Tonight to, social media people to like, I look over and like, is that Shadow Stevens? And I had to remember, one of our cast members is Shadow Stevens' daughter. So I'm like, wait, so Shadow Stevens? Should we roll? Yeah, okay, let's roll the record. So Shadow, what da 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 da? Oh, like, all right, I'm not a fanboy. All right. You have to like make that transition. And again, I remembered talking to my staff, like, listen, y'all, it is truly the last week. Yes, it's going to be sad. Yes, I'm sure you're going to be chopping it up with people's, whatever, but we have to keep the train moving. The train's got to keep moving. And of course, there were times where I'd see like my AD team, like taking selfies with the cast. It's like, all right, I'm ready for, like, what are y'all doing? Come on. But again, you have to try to understand the moments. You have to try to understand the situations, but at the same time, the bottom line is that you got to keep it moving. And again, it helped to have my son there, who is a very conscientious young man who knew that if I was about to get upset, he would come over to me like a good coach and like slap me on the butt and say, come on, turn the page. And knowing him, he would do it sort of passive aggressive and like just to stick me, like, come on.
Just enough father-son, but just enough professional.
Because it'd be all the stuff that I would tell if he was, had a bad at bat or whatever, he would like, come on, turn the page. Come on, Dad. Turn it like, all right. So I'd have to turn the page and, I know he was right, but he's not. He's not right.
Now, you came here to L.A. I think Roseanne was one of the early jobs you did in L.A., right?
Yeah, Roseanne, I want to say probably outside of a different world was the first regular show that I did, but I think there was an opportunity. Roseanne was pregnant. You guys had to shoot. You were supposed to be on hiatus, but you took this hiatus to do crossboarding. Crossboarding is not shooting linearly or because of actor availability or lack thereof. You have to shoot scenes that actor is not in. So because of the pregnancy,
and we had the emergency episode.
And
you came in and took over, and I ended up playing all these different crazy parts. because
Oh,
we
my
had to do
goodness.
that clip show.
Oh my goodness.
Because we started like on a Monday or whatever, and she got put on crazy bed rest or whatever. And so I play a young Roseanne with Zoe Perry, Laurie's daughter, playing young Jackie. And then John plays a fortune teller and then he plays like an older version of me.
See,
and it was total chaos. And you were thrown literally to the wolves. It's what I remember is you came in and were like, the cool guy who could talk sports and be mellow in the chaos.
Well, real talk, I'm sure I sweated through several shows during that day, let alone, the week I was there. What I remember from that week, Amy Brown, who usually would be the second and getting people, I guess everybody, like Mark Samuels moved up to associate director and Amy was the first. And so I specifically remember John Goodman, who was Hulk John Goodman at that time.
Yeah.
And John, cool dude, I remember either in his room listening to The Dead or, listening to a Cardinals game or something. He came and said he couldn't get the line correct. And John, like a lot of people, was the hardest on himself.
100%.
And John got so upset that Hulk John Goodman he punched the cabinet in the kitchen set. His arm went through the cabinet. I'd never seen a human being. I've only seen this in comic books. That's why I called him Hulk John Goodman. And so he put the hole through the cabinet and he went through the door, yelling expletives. And I was just like, man, I'd hate to talk to him now. And Amy patted my shoulder and said, well, Ron, you're going to get that experience right now. We need John back on the set. And the thing that he would do, and I'm sure he knew what he was doing, I'd knock. And because he was like, listen to Sugar Magnolia or, a Dead Show in Red Rocks or a Cardinals game, John, we need you on set. John, that's all I'd hear. And then he'd just open the door. And when he did it that day, I'm pretty sure I emptied out my bowels and my heart flew back. And he says, hey, yeah, you want me to say? Yeah, I'm coming, man. All right. And I'm like, that son of a bitch, he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. As I picked up my bowels and my heart. But no, that was that. And I remember, for whatever reason, Lisi and Sarah Chalk played the same character, but what, Lisi was going to school? Was that the deal?
Yeah, Lisi kind of left the business, left for school, and then we brought in Sarah Chalk, and then Lisi decided she wanted to come back, and it was a little bit of a mess. There was discomfort because nobody really knew exactly how this was going to work or what's going to happen.
Yeah, and so I think the first day y'all did that was one of my first days there. So
you did not get an easy gig.
No,
never.
So behind the paperwork thing we talked about, I'm like, all right, so how do I put, do I do a separate Exhibit G? And Exhibit G is the ledger for actors, so the actors can get paid their due. You have to delineate what time they start, what time, lunch, et cetera, et cetera. So I'd have to do a separate day and just have one with just Sarah on, and then, however, Al or, whoever was, Barbara Stoll, whoever was producing the show wanted it, so.
Yeah, and that experience really established you, though, in the Carsey Warner world as, he can handle stuff, because I remember then you went over to Grace Under Fire.
Oh, yeah.
And you were the solid guy at Grace Under Fire.
Yeah, and it's funny how actors are typecast. I think crew people are sort of oh yeah, let Ron do it. He can handle it. And my mistake on Grace Under Fire, the first season, Brett Butler was talking to my wife, who was my wife did craft service on the show, the first 2 seasons. She was talking to her about losing weight, that the company wanted her to lose weight because, too much weight is no good on television. So as she's talking about this, she's drinking a Coca-Cola. I've been married for, close to 30-something years, so I've learned better now. But Brett was just talking and drinking and talking and drinking, wait, drink. So I was just standing there, and I just snatched the Coke out of her hand and dumped it down the sink. thinking like, okay, well, this alleviates part of the problem. You won't have to drink and gain the weight. Now, this is fortunately in my head. I'm not saying this, but by taking the Coke from her, I'm dumping it in the sink and thinking as I'm dumping it, like, this could be my career right now that I'm dumping. Because this woman, I don't really know this woman. She could, have me fired. And basically, she just comes up to me and she goes, wow, ain't nobody ever done that to me before. Think I like you. And, again, sweating through another shirt and whatnot and seeing, wifey just about faint on the side as well. The important part of my career is that then Brett Butler, because of that incident, sort of became my advocate.
100%.
Brett, in fact, I was hell-bent on like, oh, well, I'm stage managing now, but when I grow up, I'm going to be a writer. One day, she's smoking a cigarette like she was, drinking the Coke. She says, so what do you want to do? I said, I want to write. No, you can't be a writer on my show. I chew up writers and spit them out like Skittles. Why don't you be a director? You're good with people. Why don't you be a director? I said, all right, well, I can either write or direct. Sure, yeah, I'll be a director. Stupid ass me, I'm like, going around then, prepping to be a director. And lo and behold, an opportunity comes up and they want me to direct an episode. But the other day is like, oh, no, wait, he hasn't associate directed. And he can't be a director. So I go back to, Brett says, well, what's going on with the director now? I'm like, well, they want me to associate direct. What? They who? Who's they? Tell me where they are. Brett brings me to, they's office. And basically she says, listen, I want him to direct, he's going to direct. And thank God, and I didn't direct, I'm not like the Orson Welles of, sitcom directors yet. But she was my biggest advocate. I would have never got that opportunity, and it's just, I realized this and I started to, work harder again. Because I'm not anal, I had to, you have to be, director, motivation, the check, come on, get it together. And especially, at one point they casted Diane Ladd as her mom. And Diane Ladd, because she was Diane Ladd again, with due respect, was supposed to be annoying to her daughter. And so because Diane Ladd is Diane Ladd, she did all of these things to annoy Brett Butler, her daughter, on the set, to the point where Brett came up to her and said, listen, you tell that broad to stop tapping her pen in that set, otherwise I'm going to put a foot up somebody's ass. It might be yours. And so I went to Diane Ladd to try to tell her, listen, Diane, that take was good, but you know what? Maybe pull back on the pen. And Diane Ladd says, well, I'm supposed to be annoying, right? This pen's annoying her, right? And I was like, damn it. Yeah,
this is what we work with.
And again, thank God we only did one more take of that. Brett had the foot wrapped up, ready to spring it into my backside. But thank God, that was the last take. We moved on, we got through the show, and I'm able to tell the story now. So
Brett's one of those people that doesn't get enough credit because she is incredibly talented. So what people don't know is in those days we did all these affiliate dinners like for the network. Mm-hmm. I had to take Brett and introduce her to everyone through the years. Like they paired us up, and then I became like one of the few people in the business that she really talked to.
Okay, dude, how old were you when you had to do this?
I don't know, like 9, 10. Like, yeah, like there, and there were executives, there were other people. How do I phrase this properly without getting myself completely in trouble? I'm going to say theys, because that's what you've done.
Good they.
There were theys that I also had to introduce, that I was told they were only allowed a 1 drink maximum and they were not allowed to do anything inappropriate. So I was like 10, 11, 12, like taking people around and introducing them to all these corporate people.
It's not good.
And like, I was okay, Fish, you're the responsible one in this thing, and then go handle this right. But Brett was so warm and fought for so many people. And there were times when things were really stressful on set. And a couple times they called me from our set to come over to come visit her. And there were a couple times where I heard things were going on and I came and visited her at her trailer to like check in. And she's such a beautiful human being and fought for the people. Like, she's a straight shooter, which I respect. You respect. I think part of it, that's our sports background. It's like I just want a good teammate, and I prefer you be a straight shooter. But she gave you an opportunity that probably would have taken years, or you may not have ever gotten, because the structure is they try to force you to suffer to get there.
And there's a a hierarchy and whatnot. I mean, look, I was a second stage manager at the time. I leapfrogged the first stage manager. I leapfrogged the associate director, which is usually how they, the pecking order goes in terms of getting a shot to direct when you're a crew member. So it's a tremendous opportunity. And I did anger management, the television show. I probably need it in real life as well. But Brett, because Brett, again, I guess Charlie Sheen's manager was the same thing, loyal to her. And Charlie hooked her up on the show, so she was a reoccurring on the show. And it was great to touch base with her because I hadn't seen her yet. And matter of fact, there was a show, The Dark Side of Comedy, that I had watched and said, this is really real. And then I literally get a phone call from Brett Butler. And Brett says, listen, I want you to do the show. I won't do the Brett anymore in case she's watching. But she said, I want you to do this show. I said, why do you want me to do this show? She says, because I know you will tell the truth diplomatically and in so many words. And so I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I didn't tell every single thing that I saw, witnessed, or experienced, but, enough to where, it's like just to confirm what was. And again, Brett owns all of that. That you can't say that she's putting the blame on this person or on they or they or they. She owns it. And but again, like you're saying, it's an opportunity that not just myself, there were other crew people. The first stage manager got to associate direct. The associate director, he also got to direct. So at least in our in the DGA team, we all got great opportunities from that show. Kudos. That's all I have to say.
People don't understand how much someone like that speaking up can change your world and change your career, change your trajectory. We're not saying that everyone's perfect, because none of us are perfect, right? We all make mistakes. But to be bold enough and caring enough and to see the value in you and open the door for you is a life-changing thing that also indicates both an attention to detail, an awareness of talent, and a willingness to reach out and help somebody up, and not everybody has that.
Yeah. And in a world of insecurities, up and down, at every level, when you get somebody like that champions you and embraces you like that, and as we're talking here, I'm thinking, fast forwarding to, I did the Geena Davis Show at Disney in Burbank, and there was another show coming in called My Wife and Kids, and it was the way the setup over there. They have two stages in one building, and so we literally, we were neighbors. And I got on the elevator there, and Damon Wayans is on there. And, Damon, at the time, Damon was like, iconic stand-up comedian. And he sees me, and Damon is, in the respect of like Brett, but Damon knows, in that he comes from like a black town, because there's so many Wayans that they comprise a black town.
They are kind of the Mount Rushmore of black comedy over the last 30, 40 years.
Without question.
And they've launched so many other people.
Totally. And I would say comedy, I remember there was a day, because I'd worked, Tom Poston was on the lot somewhere, and Tom Tom's famous for, I'd have to look for Tom every time he was on Grace on Fire. But I knew Tom, he and I chopping it up in the elevator, and Damon gets on the elevator. And Damon, who was very cool and calm and collected, he saw Tom and it was like, oh my God, like literally he was like bowing, and Tom's, you may get up now. Tom sort of leaned into it. Great, but I'm saying this to say Damon was very reverential to and paid homage to him. But I brought up Damon because Damon, just meeting me in the elevator, said, hey, how you doing, man? I'm Damon. I know, I'm Ron. And what do you do? I'm an AD. Oh, great. Hey, so you directing over there? I'm like, oh, do you read my resume before you met? And like, no. He goes, all right. Well, I'll keep you in mind. And as fate would have it, the show that I was doing got canceled. Guy, just Dad, and I went over to my wife and kids, and Guy and I both got to direct several episodes of the show. And then, Cedric the Entertainer was the same way. He was very supportive of people that wanted to come up. And if you met the challenge, he, would reward. So you are in positions. I firmly believe that, when doors close, that means if the door over there closed, it means the door over there is going to open. You just have to recognize, and again, as my son would tell me, come on, turn the page, Dad. You got to keep it moving. You got to keep turning the page. Otherwise, you don't read the book. You don't see what's going on in the story.
Yeah, and there's a huge part for me in this of like, it matters how you walk through the door, right? Which I will say, Ron, is one of your strengths. Is not only do you walk through the door confident about who you are, but warm to other people, which keeps doors open. Everybody knows what they get when Ron walks on stage in the great way, right? And that didn't change going from an AD to a director, which can happen from times. We've all seen it happen. And actually, I want to go back to the Wayans brothers. Like, as a family, all of the Wayans, their knowledge of this business and their understanding, if you could talk about that for a minute, because they are not just Black Hollywood. Yeah. They are legends. Yeah. And they have carved out a space in this against a lot of counter pressure, but they know the history and they are brilliant.
Yes. The Wayans it's a unique, doing a show with them is a unique experience in that you will get to know all of the Wayans because they will all be there. One of the credos that Damon had on My Wife and Kids was that, if I may delve into a deep delve here, I remember he met with our craft service person, and she wanted to know what Damon wanted every day on the set. And, I'm going to get stereotypical here. He said, this is no BS, I want chicken and watermelon. And she was like, oh, ha, ha, ha. And he said, no, I want this. And he said that to say in so many words, I want this to be like a barbecue, like a picnic. Yeah. Like, I want this to, again, talking about establishing that good time on the set. My family's going to be here. I presume other people, there were, as happens in the industry. I want to say 728. The electric department was the Orifices, and there were like 4 of them in that department. So you've got a family there. I want to say the camera department had a few legacies. A situation where there was a family within that department. So you literally had that. And again, since 9/11, we had never done an audience show on the neighborhood, on My Wife and Kids. Again, this was all part of establishing that good time on set, that time where you could think of events and things that happened. And I watch reruns of that show or other shows that I've done, and I can remember sub-stories and side stories that happened. And again, no matter how much marijuana I smoke, I will remember these things. And so will the other people that worked on the show. Yeah, you might not have a bazillion Emmys or Grammys or Tonys or Oscars and whatnot, but you were able to pay your bills, and you have these memories. You see these people every once in a while, whatever. They might be out of the game or whatever, but you always remember that, and you can take that with you, and no one can ever take that from you.
Yeah, it becomes this family environment, right? Mm-hmm. And you build this connection. And it's not about awards. The awards are a bonus, right?
Totally.
Look, I worked on Roseanne. We didn't win that many awards. Probably should have, but we didn't win as many. And that's always not an indicator of what the work is.
Not at all.
But when I watch those old episodes, it's like watching family movies. And
Totally.
you remember the stories and the stuff going on behind the scenes. And I remember, that's when so-and-so met so-and-so. That's when you and your wife were kind of taking off, right? Mm-hmm. I remember when people were getting married and people were having kids. That's when John's wife was pregnant, right? That's right before Molly. And you kind of mark those things. Or like CJ Duplessis, who his sons are all in the union now. Yeah. He's built a legacy in the electrical side.
Totally.
And we've watched people build this.
Yeah. No, CJ came by the set, I want to say this last season, and CJ shaved his mustache. So
looks different.
I'm like, he came up to me, like hit me on the back like I owed him money. I'm like, who? Oh, snap. Like, something just told me, like, he just looked at me as if he was saying, yeah, just draw a mustache. I'm like, oh, shit, CJ, how you doing, man? We've known each other for so long. Like you said, and CJ's got family in the business. I have family in the business. And you tend to work with people. Even, I was telling you about Tashina Arnold.
Right.
Her daughter is doing the Different World reboot. I'm pretty sure I was at the shower for Elijah Arnold. Told her that the last time I saw her before she went to Atlanta to shoot the show. Yeah, it's this full circle thing that you would just hear about, but when you get to experience, it's like, oh, right, they weren't bullshitting. This really does happen.
Well, you and I have a strange connection. I don't know if you know, which is you worked with my oldest daughter on Marvin.
Oh my God,
Camille.
Oh my
Camille
God.
is my daughter.
Oh my God.
She came into my life later, but Camille is my oldest.
Oh my! Why didn't y'all tell me about this?
Listen, because when I didn't realize you guys had that overlap. That's the thing when we've known each other for I won't say how long, decades, because you look fantastic and I've grown a lot. That's how I'm gonna phrase that.
The marijuana.
Oh, okay.
Wow. Oh, snap. Yeah, that was the first show where an actor came out. Mm-hmm. on Nickelodeon, I believe. Mm-hmm. And Pat Finn Pat Finn just passed away recently. Yeah, Mim Drew. Oh my God. Yeah, man. Oh, I want to say 2 seasons?
Something like that.
Yeah.
So I laughed because when I brought up that I was having you, she's like, oh, tell Ron I said hi. And I was like, wow. I didn't make the connection. But that's part of the beauty of, we have all this overlap. You find this beautiful space. I think you did something like 85 episodes on The Neighborhood, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, 150.
And now total, at the end, right?
Yeah.
And now I look at that and I'm like, you're a well-established director at this point. Mm-hmm. Talk about what listen, that's also the athlete and the, nonchalant. You've done more TV than most people ever will. Talk about being a director for a minute and what that means to you.
Yeah, it's sort of a benchmark for me now that I'm a year away from officially being a senior citizen. But, in my mind, I'm still,
Just for the record, a bunch of people are going to start smoking pot because you said that was the secret to looking this good. Because nobody here was thinking a year away from senior citizen. I just want to put that out there. So that's not what we're encouraging, but Ron looks damn good.
Thank you. What were we talking about?
About being a director, about what you've done here.
Yes. I was just showering in the accolades. Yeah, being a director, it's definitely a gratifying thing in terms of a benchmark personally, but in terms of the difference between, say, ADing, stage managing, and directing, you get to have more creative input. I mean, trust me, as an AD, I sit back there, I'm directing my own show. I wouldn't do that, but, if you want to, great. You have these conversations in your mind. Actually, as an AD, though, you do have to, with respect, especially if you see a director that's maybe going sideways or about to step into a huge pothole, you have to redirect them, not necessarily say, no, don't do that, but suggest, as you would as a director actually, say, all right, well, yeah, that's interesting, but you know, in the past, this actor doesn't usually respond to X. Maybe if you tried Y. But as a director, you know, you're the one putting forth the plan. That I remember doing The Neighborhood for the first time. There was an actor that will not remain nameless because he's a big piece of crap and I'll sell him out anyway. Max Greenfield had his criteria, kind of, and I didn't realize at the time, but you know, the first scene I remember rehearsing that when I did The Neighborhood was literally him and Beth Barris in a movie theater. So they have to come down an aisle and sit down. So, you know, as a director, it's like, okay, you don't want to disrespect every scene, but okay, this should take 5 minutes. All they have to do is come down, sit down, have a conversation, and we're out.
Right.
Max, because he's Max, and I'm sure because, you know, he's a Knicks fan, and this is part of the obnoxiousness of a Knicks fan that I don't appreciate. It's like, all right, Max, you and Beth come down, you go in this, go in the middle seats, and, you know, just go from there. Hey, man, why are we going down in this aisle? I feel like, you know, I should come here, then I should, and I'm like, all right, well, do that. So he does that, and then, no, it's not Well, check this out. Why do I go in the back aisle? And then Beth has to come up to me, and I looked at Beth, and, you know, Beth's eyes are like, you know, a slot machine, just like rolling. And I think Beth, much like Brett Butler, helped me out and just said, oh my God, Max, just shut the fuck down. Let's just do the scene. And, you know, I don't think they talked the rest of the day. And then Beth told Tashina, and Tashina doesn't suffer fools at all.
Yeah.
And basically her advice to me is, nah, just throw him in check like that. Tell him he's got to sit down and tell him to shut the fuck up. I go, all right, this is great advice.
Right.
Yeah. All right. I'm saying all this to say there's pitfalls that you will have to try to avoid because, again, you're trying to map out a direction for the story, for the comedy, and trying to accentuate the beats that need to be accentuated. But because human beings are human beings, not everybody is going to comply. You want to instill trust in your cast. You want your cast to confide in you if they don't feel like doing something and whatnot. I'm pretty sure Max and I sort of delved into Nick talk after that to sort of gloss that over. And I think the rest of the cast tried to instill upon Max, because he was still sort of fresh from The New Girl and used to the single camera schedule, and the multi-camera schedule, as you know, is
it's a different beast, and it's fast, and there's no space to draw things out and milk a moment because everything happens in real time.
Right, and that's one of the big differences too, is that as much as an actor, it's very very few instances in multicam where you get to not milk a moment, but like take your time with it and sort of like, instead of saying, wow, I never thought of that, you know, single camera's like, wow, I never thought of that. All right, great, and cut. That was a great scene, man, you know. Max kind of got a lecture from the rest of the cast, like, and when I say lecture, it was probably Tashina said, look, we ain't got time for this bullshit. Just do the scene and let's keep it moving. Because, you know, I got Pilates at you know, at 15 minutes. You know, it was probably more like that. Again, you have to work with all of that. And also, you know, when your lead actor is also the executive producer of the show, that you have to be mad respectful of what his needs are and his sensibility. And, you know, there were times when, as a director and as an AD, that I would have to, if we had a newer director, say, if Cedric wasn't on the set, I would have to discreetly get word to Cedric, like, hey, you might want to come on set and watch this scene and tell him, you know, to make sure that this doesn't make the day longer. If, you know, Cedric sees it or the producers see that particular scene, and it's like, oh, no. No, we need to retool this. It's all part of the communication process.
Being a director is especially in television, because you're very much the substitute teacher. You come in, You have to run everything. You have to make sure everything works. You got to get a certain amount of work done. Mm-hmm. And then somewhere in the middle of that, you are both in charge and responsible, but there are other people's missions and objectives that you have to carry out. It's a very good sign, the number of shows you did, because this is a really good example is you found a way to navigate that space and then get along with everybody so that you could continue to come back and everybody felt comfortable to work together because they felt empowered enough. Because we both know if they didn't and there was a real anger of like, I can't work with this, we don't get another opportunity.
Right,
and you've done a bunch there.
Yeah.
So you earned it and established it.
Well, fortunately, on a sitcom, like we talked about the rhythm, the differences between single camera and multicam, there is that rhythm that you have to hit. And the rhythm, more often than not, is expediency and knowing that you have X amount of time. And as an AD, I've blocked the schedule to allot for this amount of time for prep or for lighting or this, and this amount of time for shooting the scene. And so when one of those things sort of bleeds into the other, that's when the nice guy kind of has to go away and you have to be, grumpy, drunk uncle and get that point across because, at the end of the day, the producer's going to come back to you like, we were, over and I'm paying overtime, et cetera, et cetera. You want a happy producer in your experience. There's very little communicating in that has to be done in terms of, hey, look, we got to. Now there's some people that have a reputation for taking longer and whatnot, and that might have to be a dialogue beforehand. And at some points, you realize, okay, this scene shouldn't take this long, but you try to pad things so that you allow for bad things to happen or good things that might, be bad or whatever. It's a lot of juggling that has to go on. And knowing, most importantly, that, yeah, you're friendly, but you're not here to make friends. You're here to expedite a process. So that's the important thing that I've tried to get across to my son, who's way better at that than me. Because he's more honest, he's more forthright than I am. I'm more like the, hey, and he's like, hey, throw a strike.
Right.
Forget all the breaking pitches. Just throw a strike. Like, oh, okay. And my son's bigger than me too. So when he makes a point, people tend to listen. Yeah.
Okay, what's the first thing you look for on a call sheet?
What time my call is. As a first AD or if I'm making the call sheet?
Either one. Because tell me where it's different, because I want the world to hear this part.
Well, it's funny. The last time I looked at a call sheet for those reasons, usually like if you do a pilot, I have to be like the teacher and actually put my glasses on and look at the call sheet. Spelling of names of exec producers. Because I have had experiences where I messed up somebody's name. And that's not the name, Lori is not Lorry.
Yeah.
It's Lorre.
Yeah.
Yes. I got it.
Yes.
So, yeah, those type of things that literally, depending on what side of the bed Chuck woke up on that day, that person might be looking for another job if they don't spell the name right. Then after that, times that, like, wait a minute, this is not enough time for rehearsal. We need more time to rehearse this. Or, this is let's truncate that and maybe take a 45-minute lunch or an hour lunch, stuff like that. And then I look to see who's there. Because, again, I've been doing this for a bazillion years. It's like, oh, so-and-so's, the camera loader. Oh, cool. Oh, no, this is the mixer? Oh, Jesus Christ. All right, and I'm not BSing. There are some mixers that like to literally mix it up too much and will complain to, and that not just in that department, but other departments, like okay, good, we're in good hands. Oh, okay, and so I might literally go to my second AD and say, okay, listen, this supervisor here likes to do things this way, any sort of thing to, again, using the baseball, the sport analogy, if you know so-and-so throws sliders 95% of the time, don't sit fastball. You might want to sit slider. You might want to adjust your swing to the slider. All right, just telling you. So it's that type of thing.
Yeah, know the players in the game, understand how they're going to contribute. Okay, so what's the thing you don't want to see on a call sheet?
Show is canceled? I don't know. What I don't want to see on a call sheet. If I know we're in it, that the day's going to be long, I sort of get in denial mode, and I just literally put my head down and just keep going. If I see it, I'll start thinking of excuses. I'll ask, like, Jackson, what time's the Met games? I'll start thinking of the distraction thing. So I try to keep my head down and like a train and just keep going down the track. At the same time, I really had to look at a call sheet and a production report like as a scorecard, because again, my father taught me how to keep score at an early age. So, and there were various games that simulated baseball games that I would play growing up. So that part I was able to, when I was like, I hate being this anal. How do I it's like keeping score.
Yes.
So that's how I sort of, made it work for me. Like, so-and-so went into overtime. Oh, that's like going 3 for 4. Oh, yeah, let me delineate that. Hey, I'm not the producer. I don't have to pay this person.
Right.
Yeah, right on for so-and-so, Yeah, and just the different ways that yes, so-and-so might not have stopped to eat lunch, say. So then having to go to so-and-so, it's, okay, listen, you know the routine. And it's one of the unfortunate things of the business, but this is how the business works, that, okay, you put down here, you work straight through. Did you eat it all? Yeah, well, I had like a protein bar and I had a da-da-da-da. All right, listen, you can argue this. You'd have to talk to your supervisor and they'd have to talk to the producer. Here, my suggestion is that you put down that you broke for 2 meals instead of putting down you work straight through, because that's $1 bazillion that you're going to get. So unless you cut me in for some of that $1 bazillion, you have to put down that you took 2 meals and break it up like that. Those type of things I wasn't always happy about having to, you're not telling the truth. But this is how production works. This is how a producer saves money. Forget about the $2 million that somebody's making a day. We have to take money out of, we have to change these stand-ins or these extras or, people that don't make as much. But again, it's one of the necessary evils of being an AD and a stage manager.
Okay, so what is the thing that you love to see at craft services?
Other than my wife?
I see. This is a loaded question for you.
Make sure that gets in there.
That is definitely getting in.
Make sure that gets in there.
I want you to know that was the very first thing he said. There were no other things listed.
The sad part about this, my wife Linda's going to see this, is you know what? You're an asshole.
For saying it.
Yeah. But
who is a beautiful human being.
Yes.
She's a beautiful human being. So
Thank you.
I said that.
Yes. And part of our comedy team that is the Moseley family, my wife is the forthright one. She is the honesty. She's from the Midwest, and she doesn't know how to even spell bullshit. Whereas I am the prestidigitator. I am the mover and ducker of things. But we have 2 great kids, so that's all her. But what I like to see at craft service, like the world, Michael, diversity. I like to see processed foods along with the low-fat chips, along with Chips Ahoy, along with, honestly, because I know that at some point, and this is where it comes down to, I'm going to get an actor that I'm pretty sure in this bag I still have like some healthy shit that Mary Lou Henner eats that she insisted upon eating, and we got it to her and she took 1 bite and that was it.
But you had it.
But I had. But
you had
it.
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. So, no complaints there. But yeah, diversity, because that's going to make my life easier if there is a diverse set of stuff out on the table. And that way, all is fine in the land.
Okay, so then on the flip side of that, what do you hate to see?
Nothing.
Nothing?
And I'll tell you that story after season 1 of A Different World, when there was all kinds of political stuff going on, and there was no room for me in the writer's room to be like a writer's assistant or whatever. I'm like, oh, shoot. So the producer said to me, all right, we'll give you 3 choices. You can either be a music supervisor, and we're probably going to do away with that job after this season. Like, okay, I don't want that. I forgot what the other choice was, and the other was craft service. I said, well, which one pays the most? He said, oh, craft service. I said, that's the one I want. Okay, what is craft service? Seriously? Like, okay, you have to supply the food. I'm like, okay, I think I can do that. So I took my stupid ass over to this Vaughn's right over here and shopped for stuff that I knew what, certain crew members ate and, got stuff and put it out. We did an audience show. I want to say we got through one scene and the table was barren. I said, all right, I'll just put more stuff. I opened the fridge. The fridge is barren. And you know what happens when you get crew members.
I'm laughing my ass off because I know exactly what this looks like, and I've worked in places, and people they're like locusts.
Like
they start eating the mustard packets.
Literally. I had some electricians that asked me for kinds of packs, and whatnot. But I had tremendous guilt, and what I now know is early high blood pressure. So now I'm like, my heart's about to bust because I know not only did I not have food out there, including the producer that hired me is like, Moseley, where's the food? I'm like, hamana, So she was just like, all right, look, this obviously isn't working out. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make you the other set PA. And I was like, oh, okay, because the Rainice Holmes, who was the set PA, was also like on shoot days, they were working her into the Directors Guild.
Right.
So when she was on those days, I was the main set PA, and the producer, of course, hyped that up. I'm like, oh, for 2 days a week, I get to be the main set PA. Yeah. No food takes me back to 1988 when, I failed.
Listen, those scars are real.
Oh,
listen,
man.
I got scars from 88, 89, 90 that just don't go away.
Never leave.
And you will never forget. And
Never
I'm like,
leave.
I'm never gonna do that again. Or I'm never gonna be in that situation again. Sometimes you gotta learn the hard way.
This is true. This is what I've told my kids. So, yep. But I saw a dude that was on that crew, I want to say a month ago. Dude, remember the time you let everybody eat all the food?
Yep, that's a moment I will never forget. Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
I don't forget it. Exactly.
Thank you for opening that scar because that wound had healed up until this moment.
Right.
Okay, Ron, how do you define success?
Really, again, at a year away from senior citizenship, waking up healthy every morning. Like a lot of guys, probably when I was 25, okay, by the time I'm 27, I should be working on a show, and by the time I'm 30, I should be married, and all of that. That doesn't always happen. Yeah, you can. I think you could set goals, but to put a clock on it, I think is wrong. And just talking to you before we set this up, and talking to Howard Murray, who's an OG and is retired. He was an associate director and a really good director. A lot of people learned under him, and his son is in the business too as an associate director. But just talking and saying, all of this, he said, I'm retired, but this is all BS. I don't miss the early calls. I don't miss the late raps. I don't miss all the BS in between. But it's the people. The people are sort of the measure of the success. If you have memories, if you have stories about, the barren craft service table, or, whatever else, the Brett Butler situations. That's sort of, if you have these stories, these memories, this is stuff that sort of fuels you and sort of motivates you to look, all those experiences I had back then. Again, you store them up in the back of your mind, and you want to selfishly recreate good times like that again when you do other shows, so that those people have some stories to tell, and you continue the legacy. That again, having my son and my daughter in the industry too, especially having my son work alongside of me. This stuff. One of the first times he came to visit a set, we were doing the Soul Man, and specifically I remember because he was going through some stuff then or whatever with baseball probably, and it was an episode where Niecy Nash lost her phone, and she's like, and Cedric says in rehearsal, well, where's your phone? I can't find it, I lost it. And he says, he's supposed to say, oh, honey, all right, we'll find it. But, as Cedric wants to do, he just, Niecy, what the fuck wrong with you? You know how much I spent on that phone? What's wrong with you? And the whole crew just busted up laughing. I look over, I see my son laughing hysterically. And to this day, we still talk about that, and then not just that day. He remembers even what was at craft service that day. So again, it's like, oh, wow. I mean, what impression that left on him, that he remembers it after, so many years. That's kind of what I measure success. And when I see other crew members talking to each other and we rap the sort of pervy sound person I was talking about earlier, who remain nameless, when I see that he's talking to so-and-so, I'm like, oh, what y'all talking about? Oh, we're going over to Black Market after work, and, we're going to, and why don't you come by? Like, oh, well, I've got stuff to do, but you know what? Thanks for inviting, stuff like that. Yeah. That, again, that you not only see these people more than you see your family, but you actually treat them like family, or better than your family in a lot of cases, and camaraderie, it's, and again, using the sport experience, it's like when you have a team that actually not just plays together, but they bond together. That team's probably going to go at least, 20-10 for the season or whatever. That's, to me, the measure of success.
What's so interesting about that, Ron, is that's kind of, I normally ask people how are they doing based on their definition, but you answered it. And I actually think the fact that you and I are sitting here is literally proof of exactly what you said, is you living exactly what you said, because here we are, 4 decades later almost, and we have stayed connected, and we have continued to talk to each other, and we've continued to be teammates and work across other things, and I've watched your children come into this business, and I'm watching you pass what you learned on. So I see it as tremendous success, and I get excited for you every time. That's why I wanted to have you on.
No, thank you, man. Thank you. And this is a great idea, a great concept. Every industry should do something like this, because again, this is, and something where the crew is building the pyramid, so that the pharaohs can do their thing. Was that a bad analogy?
Nah, probably was a very accurate analogy. Everybody got a little nervous in their chair, but it was good.
Bring those big ass pillars. Bring them in now. Yeah, it's how many times you sit there as crew, and like I alluded to earlier, is like you see a director and they're just constantly stepping in shit, and then spreading that shit around the episode. It's like, oh my God! I mean, how did this person? These people sort of make it work, no matter how much, and not just to put it on a director, but situations happen, and our producer Patrick Kinlan, who was doing The Neighborhood and was my coordinator on A Different World.
Yeah, I've known him most of my life. Patrick's a great.
He's a saint. And a little tip from Patrick Kinlan, folks. A little Catholic school tip: if you lose something, I was a PA for Patrick. I lost a check for $500 in 1987. That's like $2 billion in today's money. I'm lying, of course, but it's a lot of money. I lost a check for $500. I thought when I came back that I was going to lose my job, and he said to me, "All right, We'll find it. Just retrace your steps. And are you religious? I said, not especially. He says, oh, well, I'm Catholic, and I believe St. Anthony. St. Anthony is a saying. I say, St. Anthony, please come around. Something's been lost and it has to be found. Within an hour, this 1987, prior to cell phones and whatnot, a newsstand vendor calls our production office and says, yeah, there's some idiot left, there's a check that I found here for $500. And Patrick Collins, found the check. I'm like, what do you mean you found it? Because stop bullshit. Come on. No. Guy just called and said he found the check. Go pick up the check. So from that day on, and I am Catholic whenever I lose something.
St. Anthony, right?
St. Anthony. I'm telling you, my wife used it the other day. The shit worked. We found my daughter lost the ring. We found the ring. Go out and get Catholic, please. Works.
Ron, I love you. How do you want the people who work with you to remember you, Ron?
That's a good question. Somebody that didn't always act a fool, but got the job done. You know, I mean, that's what it is. Yeah, I mean, somebody that had good times while they worked.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I
mean, because I've loved working with you, and I've loved watching you work, and I've loved listening to people celebrate you. When we walk into the DGA, for example, right? There are a lot of heavy hitters in that room every time we go, but there are not as many people who people run up and dap up and hug and love, right? People don't forget working with you.
Yeah. No, thank you, man. I mean, look, again, like I said, it's about the people and the experiences, you know, because a lot of times the work is, you know.
What's the legacy you want your loved ones to take from your life?
That basically work doesn't have to be, quote, work, unquote. That work isn't about taking blood pressure medications and being diabetic and, you know, all the stress. I think work kind of gets connotated with being stressful and unhealthy and trying to get a work balance and this and that. Coming from, you know, well, a little older than you, but the generation of, no, there is no pain. There is no, just suck it up and just go out there no matter what. Now, as an athlete, that kind of works and you get respect like that. But yeah, you might live to be 36. Longevity-wise, you have to find a balance. Finding that balance. I hate to sound like Tilda Swinton in, what's the movie she did with George Clooney? But she talks about that as she's having like a nervous breakdown. But I do think you do need to have balance in your life. I went through something with my daughter just this morning. And, you know, there are points that I am not allowed to talk to my daughter because I become the coach at a certain point. I have to hold my tongue. The message was conveyed, and she, you know, in time slowed everything down and, you know, saw the error of her ways and just turned the page. So I think finding a balance, I think that's key to, that's something that I would want to instill upon my kids, whatever legacies that come after them along with them.
Well, I'm looking forward to the opportunities to one day be on a set with you and your kids.
It's going to happen.
Partially so I can give you crap through your kids, only because you know that's going to happen, because you know the connection is what it is. Yeah. And what I would say is, you've brought up many times about the portion of coming, like, it's clear you take your job seriously. It's clear that the outcome matters to you, but it's also clear that you want to be a great teammate. And so you can have fun while you do your work. Every job we do does not have to be that drain like you just talked about. And I hope people take that from this. I hope that's one of the lessons that they got out of this. And I am so thankful that you came on, and I'm glad I got to celebrate you, because I've been celebrating you for years.
Thank you, man. Likewise, back at you. You know, it takes one to know one, right? I mean, you know, and I think for me with you, when I found out you played baseball, I was like, oh, well, he knows, he gets it.
Yeah.
It's like you believe in UFOs? Like, yeah.
Yeah, we're in that group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. No, same here, man. Continue doing your thing here. This is it's beyond great. And again, we'll talk about, other people that should need to come on this show.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, no. Excellent.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you. We shake hands. All right.
Perfect, John.
He's a good guy.
Oh, I hope you kept that rolling. I'm stealing that clip.
Him. Right, and then it cuts to me pointing to you.
Yeah.
Right.